that better than the gritty?
I can't emphasize how important it is that I just denoted the difference between humans, which are flesh, and a planet. The planet that we live on, Earth, its surface is water, mostly. But the majority of it is granite. That's one question that is unknown that needs to be brought to the surface. Because in the common day, modern era, scientists are now saying that the Earth's core is pure iron. I think in later models, the one prior to the iron supposed, allegedly, core is that it was liquid hot magma spinning. And in both cases, it's what makes the magnetosphere over planet Earth, which above the atmosphere, the stratosphere, is these fireworks, quote unquote, of all this radiation from the sun, which is this nuclear reactor, which is why it shines so bright, is all these atoms are constantly going in nuclear. And you get, but it's spraying, well, it's a huge side note, it's spraying on our atmosphere, stratosphere above it. Our magnetosphere is breaking it up. So it's like decohering it. So that's as important as a diagonal is to a flux. Because we don't get burned by all the radiation of the sun coming in. Our magnetosphere breaks it up like a code breaker. Like when you're tapping and you're making Morse code and it's sent over the airwaves. This is what was happening in the day and age before the internet. And they're receiving this. And this is when the submarines watched Red October. This was all renowned information. It was huge. And they were doing this underwater. So, submarine is huge. Air, Sol, that's huge. Knowing what's happening above the stratosphere. If you're a plane, you don't travel up there because your signal will get lost pretty quickly. It's all those fireworks of radiation happening above the stratosphere. Because we have our magnetosphere of the Earth. So if all the ocean was burnt up on the surface, this would be done with dropping 90 million nukes. That's the only way the Earth would be broken apart. I heard this statistic. Take it with a grain of salt. But it's not with 100 or tens of hundreds. It would have to be 90 million nukes to break the Earth apart. I'm like, couldn't we put petroleum jelly between the nukes to accelerate them? No, that's so minuscule when you're talking on scales of planetary. There isn't an accelerant bigger than what a nuclear bomb is, because in the current day and age, that's what technology is so far we've accomplished. And this was back with what Einstein, he said, like, since we've made the nukes, the next biggest thing will be fighting what happens with after the nukes. We'll be with sticks and stones. Put two and two together. Put two and two together. So I guess allegedly with what you're bringing to the forefront is their security and coding. I can't emphasize this more because it's so pinnacle within security and coding. It's like the mainframe with all coding is to have a security system. This is why the Pentagon's hired. There's no better example with the side curb and people peeling out than with the sidewalk when someone is peeling in. You just did a U-turn, but no, on a sidewalk you have to look alive because people bite over the edge to get a cleaner exit onto the street. That's just to push aside people on the sidewalk as if they have to look out on the sidewalk. Allegedly you do, or else you can get hit by a car leaving or entering an exit, as you just saw on my shoulder over the left. 2 cars doing U-turns on sidewalks. Who would have thought this? Well, just happened right before my eyes. I hope this cameraman got it. That's me. But no, when you're talking on scales of weaponry, and this is really coupled with what security is in modern day and age, it's with security, your health is wealth, the health of a nation, with what then bioweapons are. And I touched on bioweapons lightly, and these are precursors. These are sloppy copies of what nukes are. Because nukes, and I'm not doing this to be shocking, this is what Einstein, the most lay person when it comes to violence, said, and he helped create them. And this is still where we are ever since Einstein in the 50s. In the 50s, there was so much BS. There's this one song called 1954 made by Acid Black Cherry, and it's timeless. And that was the golden age of science. A lot of BS was happening in the 50s. And I don't want to grace upon old day and age, but we're still there in time when we're talking about arsenals with what nukes are and planetary. And I'll take this lightly because a handful of nukes will dissolve the entire surface. We can do that. Not that we would want to, but it's a great depiction of how easy it is to dissolve the entire surface of the planet with a handful of nukes. But it would take exponentially to 90 to the whatever 90 million are nukes to tear apart the Earth, because its iron core is so solidified with magnetics that the gravity in nukes, with the proponent of dropping them, because nukes have to drop onto the ground, the magnetosphere still holds so strong because of its core. Putting the magnetosphere and the iron core 2 and 2 together is like putting, with word diction, but it's literal, so virtual becoming flesh-like, health and wealth of a nation, but then security being with weaponry in hazardous, being what you can do violently. If you put these two things together, it's hard on the app to say this literal, but this guy, you can't see because my camera's so crappy. That's the main point in case, is that when the opposites are keen and they're almost one and the same, it's pure gold. And if you can do this with an understanding while keeping your 10 toes down and not becoming flat-footed, you're going to be a golden goat and a black sheep at the same time. Spreading his tongue if it was a snake, but it's a pitchfork, but this is a butterfly, so it's like a stilo. Flip out your tongue again. Nothing. Showing off. Flip out your tongue, guy. Nothing.